Saturday, November 4th. Hello everyone. Today we're going to go out to our front yard garden where I'll give you an update. First, I'm just going to do a quick walk around, show you what's growing, and then I'm going to come back and talk about this space in detail. Over here we got a giant white pumpkin that's growing, and then these are early girl tomatoes that are still growing. And then when we swing out to the front, we have some Kayuyu chili pie corn. These were started at the start of fall. And then we have some wheat. This is black tip Durham wheat. There is some artichokes that are waking up. We got the chard that's been transplanted in. And then coming out to the front, we still have the summer squash that's growing. Let's see if we can poke in there and see if there are some summer squash. These are zucchini. And then this is the Japonica striped maize corn. So that's what's growing here. And to give you more detail of this space, this year summer was late to start, which means it's going to be late to end. We have this idea about seasons being perfectly in its category, but nature has its own ideas about stuff. It's not perfect the way we want it. So there are shifts, and some years it starts late, which means it's going to end late, and it might start early. And as a earth system scientist and naturalist, I try to forecast those shifts and take full advantage of the shifts so that we can get more out of our growing climate, which means we get more corn or summer things like the squash. This is the Japonica striped maize corn, and this corn can essentially grow year-round because we have a warm climate, and we're going to grow some here, and we should be harvesting some in about a month. This corn normally has the variegated stripes. It's got the nice cream color, pink, and I think kind of lavender sometimes. So they'll have these stripes on the leaves, but right now it's got the standard black stalk and the darker green pigment on them. And then one of the other things that we have that is growing, once again because summer's later to end, is corn. And this was a direct sown patch. We had more, but the raccoons and skunks, they come at this time of year to dig them out because there are grubs in here. So even with a few plants that was remaining and standing, we got a good corn harvest. So let me peel back the husks so you can see. We have some filled out ears, and I didn't come in and manually pollinate them. This one had some, what looks like some corn earworm damage, but the other ones that we pulled surprisingly were, well, this is actually surprising because the corn earworm, I noticed, it comes early in the season, and if you plant later in the season, you don't really see it. So that's the corn, and we should be harvesting it soon to eat. What variety is that? I think it's the Triple Crown XP. And then I almost missed this ahi. This is the ahi limon or ahi lemon, and this is one of the cooler weather crops, because I've noticed with peppers there's a crop that there are varieties that produce during the summertime when it's nice and hot, and then the Peruvian varieties, they produce when it's cooler. Let me step back and show you producing. This is the Rooster Spur pepper, and you may have heard of Sriracha in the news lately because Sriracha has become very popular, and Huifeng Foods brand, that they made it very popular. Well, they had a supplier dispute, and there was a shortage of peppers, and so they became in the news. They got on the news for the wrong reasons. This is the pepper that is supposed to be the originating pepper that the Thai make the sauce from. So Huifeng Foods is more of a tamed down version of authentic Sriracha. This is much hotter, and I grew some plants. My goal was to actually make Sriracha, but just never got around to it. So this plant is on its second year. We had 2 other plants that didn't overwinter well. This one happened to, and it's making some peppers at this time. So once again, normally it's a summer producer, but since it overwintered and it struggled to wake up, it's producing much later. And with the warmer weather this year, because of that season shift, it's now producing. So we'll see if it actually turns red with the remaining peppers. Go down this way, back to our garden here. There is some gai choy. This is Chinese mustard, a volunteer daikon, and I've left it here because if you notice the space, it's a very wide open. It's not very good for maintaining a microclimate to grow some of the other things that we have, like the brassicas. So this plant is actually helping with the microclimate. It's bringing some of the temperatures down when it needs to. So once it's cooled off, we're gonna probably remove it. For instance, with this volunteer borage here next to our cabbages, our temperatures are cooling off. Last week we were still up in the upper 80s. Now we're gonna be in the mid 70s. So we're gonna be moving this plant out so that it gives space to our cabbage. Here you'll see that I placed a metal screen here to prevent this bed from being dug up. I recently planted our French gray shallots into here, and I don't want it dug up. And I also scattered some spinach seeds on top. These are older spinach seeds, so I hope they sprout for us. Out here in the front yard garden, I try to use materials that are not really man-made, but materials that we collect. So this is one exception. You'll see other ways we protect our beds from being dug up, like for instance, the branches that are laid down across something so that it makes it harder and the raccoons and skunks don't want to dig them up. And that's our potato bed over there. And then for maximum security, we have spikes that surround the perimeter. So let me bring you over here. You can see the yuzu spikes. These are very sharp, and this has kept out the skunks and raccoons in a very natural setting. And we have some asperbrock that's forming, that's heading up. This is a sprouting type of broccoli. If you're on this channel, you'll know this is one of my favorite types. This is a type that you can buy at the market as a registered trademark of broccolini. So you won't find broccolini seeds because that's a registered trademark, but you'll find sprouting broccoli. And at this point, we should be pinching off this main crown so that we can get break the apical dominance and get those side shoots here, right here. Let me get in there so that they can sprout and just explode like crazy. Another one that is a great producer for us, and these are both varieties that will grow year-round here in Southern California. So we're able to grow broccoli year-round with minimal effort. This is Eastern Magic. Let's see, there's that crown that's starting to form here. And this is a really magical variety, just like other broccoli. There are some other broccoli varieties that will do the same thing, but I found this is very productive for us, which is after we harvest the main crown, a bunch of side shoots will form, and on aggregate, when you pick them and put them together, you get a sizable amount. So this is our next to be in production. The only thing that's stopping us from growing year-round broccoli is mental fatigue. So in the summer, we left on vacation, super hot day, and it was kind of hard to get out. So year after year, we're working on that mental fatigue, building up that mental strength. And I'm confident that moving on from now on, I think we're going to be able to grow broccoli year round. So maybe I'll make a video to see if we can do that, just month after month, succession planting. The other part of that frustration was also because we had some succession plants and they got dug out by the raccoons. So maybe we will have to give up a little bit of our goal of keeping this place as natural as possible without using metal screens. Maybe we'll have to use that if we don't have enough yuzu spikes to keep our plants safe. So over here, there's another method. This is lay the bunch of sticks across the bed and hope that they don't dig out our plants. So these are Miranda. These are purple broccoli. And then the tomatillo is still going because I don't know, drink for every time I say that the summer is prolonged. So we got some tomatillos growing, and once again using it as a ground cover, just like the other plants that are over there. And this is bok choy, and this is a nice spot for it. We can tell that the spots are great for the individual plants because they're not being attacked by bugs and slugs. And that's the other part of it. You'll notice this plant is nice and full of leaves, not too many holes, good color, because this is a nice spot. It gets good sun when it needs it. So we're always trying to find the best place to place our plants, and if we do that, we don't need any kind of management whatsoever, either organic or synthetic fertilizer. We don't need to do that. We don't need a hand pick for caterpillars. It just kind of works itself out. And then in front here we have the wheat that we grow as a border. So this is perfect because towards the end of the year it's not so hot. Any water we use doesn't evaporate too quickly. So with our watering strategy in the summertime, we irrigate up to here, and the remaining part remains unirrigated, so whatever grows will grow. And what we did was we grew some pumpkin vines here, and from this space we were able to claim a lot of pumpkins. But before I get into the pumpkins, I want to come back to the wheat. The wheat acts as a few things for us. Like I said earlier, it acts as a good hedge and border, and then it also provides us with some wheat for either if we wanted to make some flour, which right now it seems like a lot of work, but we can also use it to supplement our chicken feed. And lastly, with the wheat the plant that's dried, we use it as mulch. So we laid it over the soil to mulch it, to keep the moisture in, and then we also use it to hill up our potato in a hybrid root stock method. And I call it hybrid because we would plant the potato in the ground pretty shallow, and then as the plant grows we'll hill it with the wheat plant mulch. So we call it straw, or no, is it hay? I think it's straw, no, hay, yeah, because it doesn't contain seeds at that point. So going back to the pumpkins, we were able to grow a lot of pumpkins in this space. You can see that, and it acted as a good living mulch. And here's one of the pumpkins that, well, this didn't grow from out here, but we grew a bunch of the pie pumpkins, and I'll put up a picture of all the pumpkins we grew. But this is one of the pumpkins we grew from the backyard, and this is a Howden pumpkin. So our jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins and painted pumpkins came from our yard exclusively this year. I'm just scanning this area to see what there is left to talk about. Oh, here we go. We got the growing area over here, little tiny patch, and these are the early girl hybrid tomatoes. And this was actually a plant that was runted because I didn't get a chance to transplant it in time. But tomatoes are very weedy. They have a long growing period, and they grew in this spot, and it's kind of taken off right now. So we'll see if they'll ripen up, because if you got your glass out, drink, because it's a longer season this year. Okay, here's our pumpkin. This is a giant pumpkin that typically grow later because we don't have the space, and it's grown well here, and we just let it grow around this olive tree. And last year with this pumpkin, I was just curious to know how well it would do as a container for a plant. So I planted our early girl in the pumpkin. So you'll see the pumpkin already broken down, but most of it is intact. See that white part? So just cut the top off and put the entire plant in here, and some of it has decomposed away, which is that back end there. So that's it for our front yard garden. We got some stuff growing in the backyard as well, and the spaces is filling in. One of the things that I've done in order to maintain that mental energy is to reduce the number of things that I'm planting. So the number of plants I start, we're not doing 6 or 7 of each, we're doing 1 or 2, and we're doing more of the succession style of planting. And I want to come back over here because, as I mentioned earlier, we had some French gray shallots in this bed, and they finally grew really well for us. And that has to do with putting the seed shallot in the fridge for about a month. So I'm hoping to get them nice and big this next harvest, which is next summer. They do take that long to grow. So yeah, that's gonna be it for our update. Maybe next time we'll come out and harvest the Japonica striped maize corn together. And until then, I hope you do well. And thanks again for coming out. Have a wonderful day.